Guys, UFC 311 was this past weekend. There were some amazing fights. Now it is time to make the matchups that I think need to happen next. Before we get into it, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe for me. Let's get into making these matchups and the rest of this video. First off, guys, we have to start with the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, Islam Makhachev. In my opinion, the fight that should be made next is Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2. Reason being, Charles was supposed to get that title shot probably about a year and a half ago. He was supposed to get the rematch. Then he lost to Arman Tsarukyan, but since then he has beat Michael Chandler. Before the Tsarukyan loss, he beat Beneil Dariush. And yeah, that is the fight to make, especially because Dana said Arman is not getting the next title shot. Islam, eventually I want to see him up at welterweight, probably after the Charles fight. I think that is the next thing for him to really cement his legacy, see if he can get a belt at welterweight. That would be amazing to probably cement him as one of the greatest of all time. So that's what I'm rolling with. Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2. Now, before we get into Renato Moicano, I know Arman fell off the card, but I still want to match him up because I haven't really seen this anywhere, and I think this is a fantastic idea and probably the best matchup you can make. I am going to go Arman Tsarukyan versus Max Holloway for the #1 contender. I know what everyone's thinking. Oh, Max has the BMF belt, blah, 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 blah. Yes, Max has the BMF belt, but Max is getting older. He just lost to Topuria and officially moved up to lightweight, but his last win at lightweight was the insane UFC 300 knockout of Justin Gaethje. So I think Max still has some championship potential you can milk before just putting him in these fun action fights for the BMF belt. So, given that Arman is not getting the next title shot, I think what you do is Arman versus Max Holloway. Either Arman beats Max and obviously cements himself as the #1 contender, or Max beats Arman. Arman takes a step back, rebuilds for a little bit, and we get another possible championship run, championship shot out of Max Holloway. Those fun fights are always going to be there for Max. Let's see if he can still compete at the elite level at lightweight. So that's what I'm rolling with. Arman Tsarukyan versus Max Holloway, as you're going to see in the thumbnail. I think that is the fight to make at lightweight to decide the next #1 contender. Let's get into Renato Moicano. Renato Moicano, he is ranked number 10. Where does he go from here? I think the rumors are Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett at 12. You got Jalen Turner, who he's already fought. Benoit, who he's already beat. Honestly, I think the best option is you just run back what was supposed to happen and you do Dariush versus Moicano. And they could probably book that in like April or May, because Renato really didn't take much damage. If Beneil's willing to wait a few more months, I think you rebook that one. That's not too difficult for me. You go Renato versus Beneil. In the co-main event, the machine, Merab Dvalishvili, beat Umar Nurmagomedov pretty convincing. 3-2. He won rounds 3, 4, and 5. One judge gave him 49-46 and gave him round 1 as well. I didn't. But Merab, just fantastic performance. And I know people are not going to like this, but considering that Merab has already beaten Peter Yan, Umar, Cejudo, I think the biggest fight to make is just run back the O'Malley fight. And listen, I get it. All the O'Malley haters are like, why would you give him an instant rematch? Blah, 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 blah. I get it. But it's a big fight for Merab. It's a winnable fight for Merab, as we see, and it's probably the biggest fight to make at bantamweight because it is Sugar Sean. And go back and watch their first fight. I know people are going to hate this too, but I do think there is 2 rounds for Sean in there. Um, they weren't as clear as the rounds Merab won. The rounds Merab won were so dominant, and the ones I think Sean won, he edged them out. But I do think he won them. Um, and with some adjustments, I think that fight can be more competitive. I would still pick Merab though. But considering that Merab has beat Peter Yan already, I just think that's the fight that you make, is run back Sugar Sean and see how a few other things play out. There's no real obvious contender right now at bantamweight for him. So run back Sugar Sean. It's the biggest fight for Merab. Get him some more money in his pockets. Treat the champ well. That's what you do. Now, Umar. Me personally, okay, you could throw Umar again against Peter Yan. You could do, Cejudo. I think what I would do is Umar versus Figgy. Umar versus Figgy is the fight to make. Give him a little bit of a step back. Not ready for the championship level. Davison did just lose to Peter Yan. I don't think Davison is going to hold a belt at bantamweight ever. He's older. He's 36. But former champion. Has fought the who's who. Still elite. But coming down a little bit towards the end of his career. Probably exiting his prime. It's a winnable fight for Umar. But if Umar is really not ready, he's not going to beat Figgy. Figgy is going to really, really test him. So that, I think, is the next step for Umar. I do think Umar is going to be great. How great, I don't know. I don't think this has completely ruined his championship aspirations. I do think eventually one day he will hold that belt. But he needs to take a step back. I'm going with the Figgy matchup. I think that's what makes the most sense. Now, on to light heavyweight. We had Alex's sons, Yuri and Jamal. Where does Yuri Prochazka go from here? I think, considering that Yuri has 2 losses to Alex, if Magomed beats Alex, I think if you don't do the instant rematch, hear me out. If you don't do the instant rematch, give Yuri the title shot against Magomed. If you go the instant rematch route, I think we got to do Yuri versus Khalil Roundtree. That fight makes the most sense because Khalil gave Alex a hell of a fight, and Yuri has 2 losses to Alex, so he's not getting a title shot. I think he's going to have to fight another fight if he wants a third crack. Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka. Full violence. Shout out to Full Violence, the Shavkat collection. This shirt is insane. That fight would be full violence. Pure violence. That's what that fight would be. I couldn't even imagine Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka. Like, that's the definition of a BMF fight at the heavier weight classes. Now, Jamal Hill. I ate a lot of shit for this fight because I am probably a bigger Jamal believer than anybody. It's not that I dislike Yuri. I just really thought Jamal was a championship level fighter. But I think he needs to take a step back and really figure some things out and probably evolve a little bit. I think with Jamal, I think Volkan Ozdemir is on a little bit of a roll. I think you got to give Jamal someone like Ozdemir. Maybe you go Bogdan Guskov, who just looked good on that undercard too. I mean, I don't think Jamal's going to want to take that big of a step back, but I think he should. You could go Krylov. I think anyone in that like 12 to 8 range, that's where you go. Could you do Jamal and Khalil? Yes, but I like Yuri and Khalil better. You could. Jan is matched up with Carlos Olberg. I forget about Jan. You could do Jamal versus Rakic. That's an option, but honestly, I want Jamal to take a bigger step back, and I think you should do Ozdemir versus Jamal because Ozdemir, I think, has won a couple in a row. Give him a chance to crack that, top 5 or 6. Jamal Hill versus Volkan Ozdemir. That's what I am rolling with. Now, at heavyweight, we had Jalton Almeida look fantastic against Sergey Spivak. Heavyweight's a little tough because it's like John and Aspinall and then everybody else. But the matchup that I keep coming back to that I think you have to do, I think you got to go Jalton Almeida versus Cyril Gahn. This is going to expose somebody. Either Cyril Gahn is getting exposed on the ground or Jalton's getting exposed on the feet. But I think that's what you got to do because it will force these guys to evolve an aspect of their game. Cyril has shown a lot of holes in the ground game. I don't think he won his fight against Volkov. I think he should have lost that decision. So I think Jalton and Cyril. Jalton did look impressive on the feet against Spivak. He landed that big bomb and then finished him by TKO. So his stand-up did look a little more impressive. He was a bit more confident in it, and it'll be an interesting clash of styles. I really like that fight. Gahn versus Jalton Almeida. That's the way to go, in my opinion. Now we got to look at Sergey Spivak. Heavyweight is just so fucking. There's nobody, man. I guess Spivak has beaten Derek Lewis. I think. Did he beat Tuivasa too? Do see these guys? So many of them have fought each other. It's just tough. Do Spivak versus Rosenstruck? I guess. I honestly could care less. Sorry. On to the next one. At middleweight, we had Kevin Holland, who is not even ranked, versus Renier de Ridder, the former two-weight champion in one championship. That fight went exactly how I thought it would. I think Kevin at 185 does not really take the fights too serious. We even heard him kind of allude to all that on the Jackson podcast. I thought Renier, being the much bigger guy, was definitely just going to take him down and find the submission or just out-grapple him for 3 rounds. But I'm glad he got the finish. I like Kevin, but 185 is not the best for him. But as far as the winner goes, Renier de Ridder, I don't know if he will be a title challenger or a champion, but I think he adds a lot to the division. And you probably should put him anywhere from that like 7 to 15 range. I don't think you give him a top 5 guy or even a top 6 in Caio Bajalio. I don't think he deserves that yet. But anywhere in that 15 to 7 range. And to me, this fight would be pure chaos. I think you go Paulo Costa versus Renier de Ridder. If you can get Costa to take it. It's kind of tough to get him to take fights lately, it seems like. I would go Renier de Ridder versus Paulo Costa. That will be a great test. Costa's got pretty good takedown defense, very good BJJ. He's all around very well rounded, but he is going to really cause some damage on the feet if Renier is not able to get it to the ground, and I think it will force Renier to show a little bit more of his striking and be a little bit more comfortable on the feet because I don't think he is going to make it to the title level if he does not get more comfortable on his feet. So, the Ridder versus Costa, I think Costa is a great test for anybody trying to crack that top 10 because Costa, he's one of those guys where like on any given night he could be elite, but then he has times where he doesn't really live up to his potential. That is the fight to make in my opinion. Costa is always fun, and Renier de Ridder, his first fight against Gerald Meerschaert was pure chaos and kind of sloppy, and this fight, it was a clean submission victory for him, so I like that. Costa versus Renier de Ridder. Now, Kevin Holland. He's not even ranked anymore, and honestly, I would prefer him to go back down to 170, so I'm going to give you 2 ideas. If he doesn't go back down to 170, I think you should probably just run If you want to give him a top 15 guy, Michel Pereira versus Kevin Holland would be fun. Michel Pereira is chaotic and was a former 170 pounder. So that's what I would do at middleweight. Michel Pereira versus Kevin Holland. At welterweight, um, I mean, you could do like Carlos Praches versus Kevin Holland. That would be very fun. And I would pick Carlos Praches to win that fight. But yeah, as far as ranked guys, Carlos Praches or Michel Pereira. That's what I would do with Kevin Holland. Now, on to the headliner on the prelims. You had Peyton Talbot losing dominantly to Hani Barcelios. I am going to have to go to the athletes portion of this card because I need to see everybody that's available. You know what? We might just have to look up UFC bantamweight roster because it's got to be someone unranked. Obviously, you can't give him a top 15 guy. Who do we got? I mean, all these guys. Hani Barcelios is who just beat him. You know, where do you put him? Maybe you do Ricky Tercios. Ricky Tercios isn't ranked, and he just lost to Bernardo Sopaj. I mean, that's not a bad one. Did he not? Didn't. Wait. Did they fight already? No. Okay. Yeah, give him. Fuck it. Give him Ricky Tercios. This guy's lost to Raul Rojas Jr. and Bernardo Sopaj. So that's what you probably do. It looks like anyone with a bit of a future he's lost to. Zahabi, Rosas Jr., and Sopaj. So that's what I would do personally with Peyton Talbot. I still think Peyton Talbot has a bright future, despite what everyone's saying about him. He got into a bit of a war in the third round, looked like he was enjoying it, and he dogged it out and made it to a decision. And he didn't quit. I know that's not like a achievement, but that's what you want to see from a young fighter. He only had 9 fights, now he has 10. He's 9-1. He has intangibles that you can't teach. His vision to find shots and just his precision, it's really amazing. Obviously, it's not at the elite level yet, but it's a natural gift that he has that it's very hard to develop. I think honestly this will be the best thing that could have happened to him, and he is probably going to build back so much better from this. Some guys need that on their way up. Everyone is not Conor McGregor that comes in and starches everybody. Everyone is not Habib. Everyone is not Umar Nurmagomedov that gets a title shot after like 4 fights. So this will be the best thing that could have happened to him. That is all I got for you guys. Matchups for the top 6 fights. And yeah, more content to come this week. I wanted to put this video out a couple days ago. Didn't get a chance to do it. So here you go. All of the matchups to make post UFC 311. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Let me know your matchups down below. Who you think should fight who. I will see you in the next video.